Ladies and gentlemen, Kuro Games has blessed us with quite a bit of news regarding the newest on-banner 5-star character, Augusta. We've got things like her combat showcase, her full kit reveal, and her weapon. But of course, we're going to be prioritizing today, taking a look at that combat reveal, then getting into the full kit reveal, and then just start breaking down, right, everything that you're going to be seeing in it, how she's probably going to work, and some of the ins and outs of her kit, as well as her synergy with what already exists in the game or what's been announced for version 2.6. So with that, let's just go ahead, let's get started off with her combat showcase, and give it all a bit of a look. Nice intro. Same as usual. Cool 2D art, and it looks like, she's 1v9ing. With her gigantic Ultra Greatsword.
All the sun touches is ours to fight.
Okay, so I'm just gonna give my first point of feedback over here. I think that this is cool, but it feels like her face is kind of fucked up. I feel like Augusta really doesn't like look like that. At least like in game and all of like the rendered cutscenes that I've seen. She looks like 10 or 20 years younger over here. But yeah, it's just like the 2D to 2D transition, right? We're probably never gonna see like like this one again. Yeah, this one, it seems a little bit too different than what she actually looks like in all of like the marketing and even with the in-game engine rendering her. Okay, let's see that moveset. Oh, we got the thigh swing.
Pathetic struggle.
I like that they're showing so much of that sort of like magnetism in her kit, actually having it, you know, having her weapon break apart as she's doing some hits. We all know that her forte isn't supposed to be like the most powerful one ever, so I'm glad that she's making some use out of it. Oh, and here's the Griffrex. I see. That's how it's built into her kit. She's got a little teammate. Okay, what in God's name even? Okay, wait. Turn the quality up. Turn the quality up. What the hell even was that? Oh my lord. I have to say, yeah, everything in this trailer is absolutely fire. Everything in the trailer is absolutely amazing. The only thing I can say is that, like, even in the other 2D part, her face looks like great over here. Her face looks amazing in the 2D animation. And then literally just this freeze frame. That is the only thing I can say.
My valor never fails.
And then we got our second ultimate. There we go. Okay, that's actually cinema. What the fuck? You know what I want to see right now? Now what I want to see is this happen, but with the gigantic swords that, like, those statues in Septimont are wielding. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? How, like, those gigantic swords in Septimont are like this, with, like the big statues? I want to see Augusta break apart one of those big swords, turn it into a bunch of tiny swords, and then you see, like, the squad, like Rover, like, jumping on them. They, like, jump on the swords to, like, climb something. That's actually what I want to see. That would be the coolest shit ever. And, wow, this animation is absolutely nuts. What the...
And should the tide of fate stir once more, she will raise this sword and blaze through the night as the eternal sun.
Okay, she's just aura farming. She's literally aura farming. This has to be, like, just from here to here, it's just 30 seconds of aura farming. What the fuck? Like, legitimately, she's not doing anything. This is potentially the most, like, badass, like, logo transition they've ever done.
And should the tide of fate stir once more,
and then she's just aura farming here.
Sword
Legit!
and blazed through the night as the eternal sun.
Okay, well, that probably is... I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really like that one too much because of, like, the combat and the stuff like that. But, like, when we saw, like, the transition where it's like this, like, holy... Oh, I might use that for a thumbnail, bucko. That's kind of nuts. And then this... Holy fucking moly. This felt like a movie trailer. Like, this felt like a high-fidelity, tons of effort put in movie trailer. Holy shit. My socks are blown off. So yeah, that's going to be the Resonator Combat Showcase. Very, very, very awesome once again. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and start taking a look now at her kit. We got the full profile reveal for Augusta. And it's time for us to take a bit of a look, see how her kit works, and break all of it down. So yeah, here we got Augusta, Magnetism Before Light, 5-star unit, all of that great stuff. She's going to be an Electro Broad Blade user with, as her Ascension material, the Blighted Crown of the Puppet King. So do keep in mind, you won't be able to level her up unless the new version is already out. You can't actually pre-farm. I don't believe you can pre-farm these two materials. They look new to me. However, when it comes to her skill upgrade mats, you're going to be able to pre-farm everything over here. You're going to have your Wave Ward, Residue, Tidal Residuals, and When Irises Bloom. This one is going to be the Fleur de Lis boss mat. And then these are just going to be, you know, version 1.0 or 2.0 enemy mats. And so, yeah, we got our combat rolls over here. It should be pretty obvious by now based off all the teasers that we have in game. But she's going to be an Electro main damage dealer. She's going to deal heavy attack damage. And I guess this is the part that nobody actually knew about. She has some damage amplification built into her outro skill. Don't worry, I've taken a bit of a pre-watch of her kit, so I know vaguely what I'm talking about. And we'll make sure to break it down further from here. Kuro Games has started doing some different stuff when it comes to these kit reveals. Starting, I think, after Zani with their overly long one. And they've decided to have both a short and long version of the skill descriptions. So, the short version that we're going to be covering first is going to feel like there's some stuff missing. Just do keep that in mind. You're going to see it over here because this is her normal attack. And, well, the description of the first three is deal electro damage. Yeah, that's her basic, that's her regular heavy attack, and then that's her mid-air attack. So there you go. Now she's gonna, after those regular attacks, she's gonna have a special heavy attack called Thunder Roar Backstep, where when a resource called Prowess is full, she's gonna hold the normal attack button to use this skill, and then release it to actually cast a follow-up heavy attack. And then when Prowess, that resource that we use to cast the regular one, is used for a jump, well, it'll consume that to do this attack called Uppercut. And Augusta is going to gain this resource, Prowess, through a variety of different means, basically using basic attacks, heavy attacks, mid-air attacks, dodge counters, her regular resonance skill, or her intro skill. So basically, every single attack that isn't like her liberation is going to provide this resource, and it simply just can't be an attack that consumes the resource as well. Do keep that in mind. That's one resource you're going to have to keep track of across her kit, Prowess. Now let's keep moving forward and take a look at Warrior's Blade, a resonant skill. Yeah, not too much to say about this one. We'll make sure to look at the in-depth version of this, though. Yeah, it deals electro damage. Who could have guessed? And now we're going to have a Resonance Liberation. I think this is the one that most people have seen. Keep in mind, she's going to have two casts of her Liberation. This one that you see up here is her regular cast. And as you can see, there's no cinematics, nothing special, and then that's the second cast. So the first cast literally is press and release the Resonance Liberation button to cast this skill. And that's going to be the one that you cast when you don't have this resource called Majesty. And so Majesty essentially allows you to do this actual liberation where it looks like, you know, she's able to do a bunch of numerous slashes and then finishes off with this one. This is the version that everyone has seen. When she has the 2 stacks of Majesty, which is what it means when Majesty is full. So when that occurs, you're going to hold her Liberation button to cast the skill and then enter Sworn Allegiance. And then Sworn Allegiance is where she does all of like those rapid strikes and then does the finisher move afterwards. And then while you're in the sort of like slashing state, you can just hold your Liberation button early to do this final slash. and, just end the state faster that way. And so, Augusta needs 2 stacks of this resource called Majesty to actually be able to cast it, and she obtains 1 stack when she uses her resonant skill, Undying Sunlight Plunge. But don't worry, we'll find that out later. It's actually in her Forte Circuit. And then when other resonators in her team use an outro skill while under the effect of Augusta's outro skill, she's going to gain 1 stack of Majesty. And so Augusta's outro skill, it's a buffing one. You'll see how this makes sense later. Her kit isn't actually as complicated as it sounds. She just has a lot of different resources to bundle together. So we had Prowess for her basic attacks. We had Majesty for her liberation. Now let's get into her Forte Circuit, because she's got a 3rd resource called Ascendancy. And this is where the whole Undying Sunlight thing comes in. This is how you generate the resource to actually use her liberation. So when Ascendancy is full, which you obtain through normal attacks, using her resonant skill, using her intro skill, or using her liberation, the first cast of it, not the enhanced one, she's gonna generate Ascendancy. And when that meter is full, her regular resonant skill is gonna be replaced with Undying Sunlight Strike, which then turns into Sunlight Leap, and then Sunlight Plunge. You can kind of see what's going on over here. That's when she summons the Griffin in combat. She uses the resonant skill to do the Griffin attacks. That's going to be the first one. Then she had the leap up there where she went up, and then the plunge where she plunges down with the Griffin. And that's going to give her one of her Majesty points that she's going to use to cast her liberation. You're kind of seeing how it all works together over here. It's not nearly as complicated as it sounds. Now, let's get on into her intro skill. You're going to deal damage. You're also going to generate the resources Prowess and Ascendancy. So that's one of the big things over here. And I know it doesn't look that impressive. Now we got our outro skill, Battle Song of the Unyielding. And so the next resonator who's switched onto gains the following effects, which will end if Augusta gets switched out. And these effects are going to be 15% damage amplification for all attributes. Actually, a pretty interesting outro skill. Not one of the strongest. We do have some comparisons in game to actually draw them to. And so when you think about that 15% outro skill damage amplification, this is essentially a worse version of what supports have, where theirs is going to last for 30 seconds, provide additional benefits if you're like Shorekeeper, and then also provide the same level of damage amplification, and it's not lost on swap. And so you're seeing over here, Augusta kind of doesn't really have that great of an outro skill. It is, honestly, kind of bad, if we're frankly being honest. But it has some other benefits for the team. The first one is that it's going to grant you 1 stack of Majesty, and then also 1 stack of Crown of Wills. And so Crown of Wills is actually an effect that grants you electro damage, and Majesty, you need 1 stack of it to actually cast your Enhanced Liberation. And so by using your outro skill, you generate 1 stack of Majesty, you gain this electro damage buff for your next rotation, and you can ensure that you only need to get to your Forte Circuit, use this Undying Sunlight attack chain, and then you will be able to use your liberation again in your next rotation. So her outro skill does have a team buffing effect, but the significance of it is to simply battery her resources for her next rotation. And yeah, that's basically the breakdown of the simple version of her kit. And so now let's just quickly read this combat guide just to make sure that we're following along correctly, and then get on to the detailed explanations. So here we go. Augusta's Chained Liberation allows her to stop time. Okay, I guess that's what's occurring when she does her 7 to 9 slashes. Augusta grants a shield to other resonators who cast intro skill in the team, and herself whenever she deals damage. This is actually stuff that's in her inherent abilities, not actually shown in the simplified guide. I think they should mention some of those features over there, but do keep that in mind. And her outro skill is going to grant the incoming resonator damage amp for all attributes. We've just seen that. Now this is where they get into the resources. Augusta accumulates prowess to cast chained heavy attacks and ascendancy to cast chained resonant skills, which makes sense. Her inherent skill, outro skill, blah blah blah, all of that, they grant Majesty. We'll get into those in just a second. And when Majesty reaches 2 stacks, Augusta can cast her Sublime as the Sun and then enter that time-free state. And then she can just finish it all off by using the second cast, which I guess is called Everbright Protector. And that's when she does those whirling slashes and then exits the state. So yeah, that's a simplified breakdown. You build up the resources to get the Majesty. You get a refund on Majesty when you use your outro skill. And then you just want to do one of those chained resonance skills to regain the Majesty and then do another rotation. However, we are missing a lot of features. Stuff like the shielding, all of that, and her inherent skills. We're missing a lot of context over there. So now let's get right on into the actual full kit. reveal. So, this is going to be her normal attack, Hunter's Path. She can perform up to 4 consecutive attacks. Very cool. Deal electro damage. Not too much different over here. For her heavy attack, Steel Clash, she's going to hold down the attack to do it and make sure that she doesn't have full prowess. And then after performing that heavy attack, she can go and advance to the second stage of her basic. Kind of neat. Her mid-air attack is just her doing a plunge. Nothing too crazy, nothing too significant that comes out of it. Her dodge counter is simply going to advance her basic attack chain. And then her mid-air dodge counter is just going to have her counter with a plunge. Okay. Her heavy attack, which is the one that's enhanced over here called Thunder Roar Backstep, this is how it's going to work. When your prowess is full, your heavy attack is going to be replaced with Thunder Roar Backstep, which is going to deal damage and then consume all your prowess. And then while in action, you're going to release or press it again within a certain period to use Spin Slash. And then Spin Slash is available if Augusta remains on the ground for a certain period after this skill is interrupted. So you will be able to get the cool spin part if you do mistime it and, you know, you do it during the middle of an enemy attack. And yeah, this is just going to be her dealing more damage. She's also going to have an attack called Thunder Roar Uppercut, which is going to be available as well. And you can do that instead of using Backstep. So basically, you're just going to press jump when prowess is full to use this attack. You're going to deal electro damage and then consume all of that prowess. And if prowess is full when using Warrior's Blade, which is a regular resonance skill, you're going to press the resonance skill or jump button to use Uppercut. And that's going to deal electro damage and then consume all your prowess. So that's a unique interaction that she's going to have with her somewhat boring regular resonance skill. And if prowess is full when casting heavy attack Steel Clash or her dodge counter heavy attack Steel Clash, releasing the normal attack button after a certain period of time or just using the jump will use Uppercut. So she's got a lot of ways to like chain together her normal attack chain. I don't think this stuff is going to be that important though. I don't think it's going to be like an important part of her kit to try to like optimize this. We're going to focus a lot more on like her Forte Circuit to actually get all this stuff going. So yeah. She does have unique mechanics, though, where she can actually replace dodge counters with heavy attacks if she uses these dodge counters while her prowess is full. So that's a pretty unique interaction that doesn't feel like you're, you know, going out of your way across your kit to make these more damaging moves happen. So it's actually kind of cool that this sort of mechanic is built in. So yeah, she's going to have up to 100 points of prowess. It's going to be restored by using almost anything in her kit, namely like her intro skill, which is going to give her maximum prowess. But yeah, all this other stuff in her kit, like her basic attacks, her regular resonance skill, that's going to provide prowess as well. So that's going to be the full explanation of one of the resources in her kit. Now let's go ahead and read her resonance skill. And as you can see, this one is basically, it's kind of just there to chain into other attacks. Augusta leaps down and slams her broad blade, dealing electro damage. And as you can see over here, it gives the resources for other moves in her kit. And it has a special chain that you can do with Thunder Roar Uppercut, which is, you know, that's, I guess that's kind of neat. Now, let's get on into the Liberation. And this is where stuff can get a little bit complicated. So, when you're using her Liberation without Majesty, you're going to press and release the Resonance Liberation button to cast this skill. And then Augusta will just deal damage considered as heavy attack. That's going to be her main damage type throughout her kit. And so, for the second ability, when her Majesty reaches 2 stacks, she's going to hold her Liberation button to cast Sublime as the Sun. It doesn't cost Resonance Energy. That's the important thing. But 2 stacks of Majesty instead. And so when using her Liberation Sublime as the Sun, Augusta generates the Ruler's Realm and then enters Sworn Allegiance state for 7 seconds. That's when time is stopped and you cannot actually switch to other characters. Only Sublime as the Sun, Sunborn, and Sublime as the Sun, Everby Protector, and Dodge can be performed in this time frozen state. And she'll also be able to use her mid-air attack if she's in the air as well. So not a lot of things that you can do. I assume like the idea over here is that, you know, she's attacking so fast that time effectively feels frozen. I'm pretty sure that the mechanic that her ultimate is using is going to be rehashed for the Cyberpunk 2077 collab. Because we all know about David and his, what is it called? Sandivistan thing? The thing that like slows down time. I can totally imagine that it's going to be a similar mechanic to what we're seeing in here, because we're essentially getting, she freezes time and then rapidly attacks 7 times. pretty fucking cool in this game. It's probably going to be pretty fucking cool in the collab. So that's my prediction over here. So yeah, while in the Sworn Allegiance, or the time stop state, she's going to press or hold the normal attack to cast Sunborn, and she can also walk on water without consuming stamina during those 7 seconds, but you're probably going to be hitting enemies instead, unless you're really trying to do some weird shit in the overworld. And so performing environmental gameplay or other interactions ends the Sworn Allegiance state without using the second cast or her enhanced, her enhanced finisher. So yeah, if you like go ahead and you like pick up a like one of those like plant bombs in 1.0, or you like interact with like a Lottie Lost, yeah, you won't be able to get the second damaging part. But this is more like an overworld thing. So yeah, the Sunborn is going to be the big attack that she does at the end, and this is going to be considered as heavy attack damage. It's going to be available after she casts the Sunborn, the fast slashes, 9 times, or she could just hold down the liberation button to cast it early. So that's some of the stuff that she has available. Now, yeah, Everby Protector, that's how it works. We've already covered all of her attacks over here. Nothing too complicated to talk about. Let's move on to Ruler's Realm. Ruler's Realm is going to last for 30 seconds after she uses her liberation, and this is something that was not mentioned in the simplified guide. When the other resonators in the team use an intro skill within Augusta's Ruler's Realm, they will gain a shield equal to 5% plus 650 of Augusta's max HP for 10 seconds. This effect is unstackable, and the shield is not going to be passed on. And so I would say that this doesn't really seem like a crazy survival mechanic. I feel like it's in there for flavor, because a 5% scaling shield plus 650 is like, it seems really fucking bad, if I'm frankly being honest. This will block maybe like 1/5 of an enemy's attack. Maybe I'm severely underestimating how strong 5% is. Maybe Augusta has like the highest base HP in the game, and this is actually a significant shield, but this just seems like flavor, where it's like she like protects her teammates, right? But this is very little protection. I think it's just flavor. It's cool that it's in there, but I don't think it's doing particularly much. Now, we got Augusta with Majesty. She holds up to 2 stacks. 1 is cast whenever she uses her resonant skill, Undying Sunlight Plunge. Remember how that one works. It's from Ascendancy. And then she gains another stack when other resonators in the team cast an outro skill while under the effect of Augusta's outro skill. So that's how she gets one of her points. The other point is from her working through her kit. So this is not really a solo character, if that makes a ton of sense. You won't be soloing a lot of content with her. Now let's get into the explanation of her Forte Circuit. So when Ascendancy, that resource that we talked about before, is full, her regular resonant skill Warrior's Blade is going to be replaced with Undying Sunlight Strike. And she's just going to go ahead, press the normal attack or resonant skill button during the action to get into Leap, and then she's going to be able to use Plunge after using Leap. It's pretty clear what's going on. You gain the Ascendancy, and then you chain together 3 resonant skills together to gain the stack of Majesty, and then I assume deal a good burst of damage. She's also going to have a unique dodge counter where you can actually use a resonant skill after a ground dodge, or press normal attack or resonant skill after a successful midair dodge while this resource is full to chain into these resonant skill casts off of a dodge. I think that's actually really cool. I think that's really neat that they're building in all of these sort of like dodge follow-up mechanics into some of the kits. And this should probably just make her feel really, really buttery smooth to play, even when she's outside of her liberation. And so I'm really excited to see how this actually works out in combat. Just know that her dodge counters can effectively be turned into ways to shorten her rotation as well. All right, so yeah, when it comes to Ascendancy, Augusta can hold up to 100 points. It's obtained from normal attacks. Her intro skill is going to restore 20%. Her resonant skill, the regular one, is going to restore 10%. And then using her unenhanced Resonance Liberation is going to grant her 40%. So it does look like there's a reason to actually weave that into her rotation. It's so that she can build up the Majesty to actually cast the enhanced version. I almost view like this initial like unbuffed Resonance Liberation cast as just like an extra attack built into her kit, which in all honesty is pretty unique. Her intro skill is just going to deal damage, but then battery a lot of other resources in her kit. It works for Ascendancy. It also works for Prowess, which is for her basic attacks. And this is where we gotta start having a bit of a discussion about her inherent skills. Because you might be in a situation where her kit feels like it doesn't really work unless she's the first person on her team. We're gonna read her inherent skills, and this should probably help paint the picture. So the second inherent skill is probably one of the most important parts of her kit to level up. When Augusta is out of combat for over 4 seconds, she gains the following effects, which can be triggered once every 4 seconds. If Majesty is less than 1 stack, restore a stack. And then also fully restore this Crown of Wills buff. Crown of Wills is each stack grants 15% electro damage. It stacks up to 1 time. And when her Resonance Liberation, basically the big ending attack where she does that, ends, all the stacks of Crown of Wills are removed. So essentially, you can only get this buff from using an outro skill, or if you've been out of combat for 4 seconds, or essentially starting a TOA stage or Weewa or anything like that, her inherent skill is going to activate. And so her first rotation is actually perfectly fine because this inherent skill exists. And her second and third rotation, right, is also perfectly fine because her outro skill, which grants Majesty and then grants Crown of Wills, is also going to be available too. I'm not sure if there's like a typo in her kit because it looks like just casting her outro skill is going to grant her a stack of Majesty, and she also seems to have a mechanic where she gains a stack if other teammates cast an outro skill. There's a chance that she might like load in off of an intro skill and already have 2 stacks of Majesty good to go. I'm not sure if that's a typo or if that's how it's actually going to work in combat. We'll just have to see. So that's some of the tricky stuff out of her kit. Now we've got her other inherent skill, and this one's also super important as well. This one is called Glory's Favor. And so when Augusta deals damage, she gains a shield equal to 2.5% plus 350 of her max HP for 5 seconds. It's triggered once every half second, and it's not stackable. I'm gonna be honest here. This shield almost provides no survivability at all. I don't think a lot of people realize that this shield is effectively like fake. And the only reason why this shield exists, at least in my opinion, is to activate this Sonata set. Because she can refresh the shield every half second, and as you gain a shield with this set, you gain 6% attack and 4% crit damage each time you refresh the shield, and it stacks up to 5 times. So Augusta's kind of like one of the only characters, I think she is the only character that's able to maintain full uptime on all of the stacks of this set. And let's just be honest here, this shield is so little, I don't think it's actually going to be something that like makes the difference significantly in your survivability. I also don't know if it even provides any interruption resistance. We might have to test it out later. But yeah, I think it's really only there to stack up her Sonata set. This is also the other thing. It's kind of also only there to stack up the effect on her weapon, which we have available on the screen as well. Obtaining a shield allows heavy attack damage to ignore 7.2 to, which stacks up to 5 times. I think that's up to like 38% defense ignore on the target for specifically just heavy attack damage. And so the thing is that this weapon has a pretty, I'm just gonna be honest. Let's just do this for a sec. I'm gonna use my Chatterito to like block my screen. Imagine that this is all there is to the weapon effect, right? You just ignore everything after 15 seconds. Increase attack by 12%. Increase heavy attack damage by 20%. This is, without a doubt, without any other further lines in this passive, this is the worst signature in the game. This is straight up the worst signature in the game. But when you add in this special shielding effect, and then you add in the fact that you can get up to like 38% defense ignore, it becomes one of the best. But unfortunately, it does appear that Augusta might be the only character in the game who's actually able to leverage her signature. I think other units, like maybe like a Gian or something, could go ahead and obtain like 1, maybe 2 stacks. But let's just be entirely honest over here. This does seem to be like a bit of a, you know, an intentional decision over here to kind of give Augusta specific synergies throughout her kit and her weapon as well. And so I'm not personally sure if this is like, you know, the most healthy thing for the game, but it does in some ways actually appear to be balanced, if I'm frankly being honest. Because, well, I don't think this effect is like the craziest, most overpowered one ever. And while it is specific to Augusta, I mean, it doesn't look like she has that many built-in damage buffs across her kit. Like, her outro skill is honestly kind of trash. And the only, like, self-damage buff she has is a 15% electro damage bonus. So, of course, we're gonna have to worry about her motion values and stuff like that to make a full decision on the character. But I gotta say, it doesn't look, like, blatantly, like, ridiculously broken, right? Where it's like, Augusta's Sonata set is the most absurd thing ever, and only she can use it. You know, it's comparable to other 3-piece sets in the game. But yeah, I would just say, wait until release to see how everything works out. And we will be covering her weapon later and some of the specifics with that one. But yeah, I gotta say, her kit doesn't seem that complicated at all. It just is kind of unnecessarily wordy, and she does have a lot of resources that she has to keep track of in combat. But I'm pretty sure that in actual practice, it's not going to be that tricky overall. So yeah, that is that, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, you've enjoyed this overview and you have a better understanding of how this character is going to work, and you can make a better decision of whether or not she's somebody that you actually do want to pull. So yeah, that's that. Let me know what you all think. Peace.